And good morning and welcome to Alpha Jury. It's time to look at your newspapers, look at the big stories as you get into the weekend proper. I'm Jeff Morty. I'm joined by the Big E, Eli Gitao.
Absolutely.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana,
First Friday in a long while since where we weren't talking about soccer. Feels different. Really feels different.
It feels different, Jeff. But the EPL is almost.
Yeah. And for Arsenal fans, it's a new dawn, literally. You really don't know how this is going to turn out.
Our manager has been busy in the transfer window, and we believe ile unasikianga next season.
Ndio hii
sasa.
We'll wait and see. Funnily, there's a time Arsene Wenger was doing an interview, and he talked about one of the regrets he felt is that he had stayed at Arsenal too long. He felt he had overstayed.
Yeah.
And we're like, you had 22 years. You could have decided that 10 years back.
You know,
it's time to move on.
That old man had all the pressure, you know, for a coach to quit, but he didn't. So he has himself to blame.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. And of course, since our World Cup is over, we'll be looking forward to the EPL and all the drama and action that will come from there.
Yes, and my Croatia didn't win. Too bad.
But he did play the best game. Yeah. It won the hearts, not the cup.
Yes.
That's what it did.
Yes.
Okay, let's start off, of course, with the People Daily, as always, and look at the big stories that we're getting into this weekend. Let's start off with a very interesting story here, and it's all about the Ruaraka land scam. Seems like we thought it had been put to bed, but this probe just keeps unearthing more and more disturbing facts. This time around, Matiang'i now under probe over Ruaraka land. Now, EACC keen to determine what CS knew about land scam initiated during his tenure at Land's docket and concluded on his watch at Education Ministry. Now, the interesting thing about this is that when this probe first started and when this scam first hit the headlines, there was one individual who spoke about the fact that he knew what was going on. He said he was a key witness, and he named Matiang'i. He named Swazuri. And then after that, he went to say that his life was in danger because he had named these people. And at that time, very many people took it for someone who's attention-seeking and threw it to the side.
Yes.
But as this case progresses and this hearing progresses, we find that there are very many things that we actually didn't know about this.
Yes, there are so many things that we are yet to know. Because when you hear some names like Matiang'i and the National Land Commission Chairman Swazuri being thrown here and there, it shows this scam is of a bigger magnitude. And when somebody alleges that they are life in danger because of mentioning one or two individuals, it brings out the picture that there's something really big going on behind the scenes. And that's what we don't know up to now, because we have so many parties throwing blame to each other. Swazuri says the deal was done according to the processes required. Then we have somebody claiming it was a fraud and throwing all these names to the table.
Indeed.
So, Jeff, we will, at the end of it all, if there will be end of this, Jeff, I believe there are so many big names involved in it.
Very true.
What's being talked around is anything true.
Very true.
Yes.
And of course, also even with that, a couple of investigative reports being done, and of course, preliminary results just talking about the fact that there are very many high-level government officials who are being investigated because of this. We're talking about CSs, other PSs as well.
Yes.
So this definitely is going to be one big case. And of course, when the cards come crumbling down, there'll be a lot of collateral damage.
Yes, and it's not just in the lands ministry. Every other scandal that we've heard of this country, it has involved, you know, big names, influential names, that even the witnesses are afraid of mentioning them because they are afraid of their lives. And Jeff, it's a saddening situation. If the leaders that we've bestowed them to lead us and to take this country to greater heights are the ones who are involved in this looting, and I believe we need even divine intervention.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Very true. And of course, a couple of high-level arrests are still promised to take place. So we wait and see how this particular scam and investigation is carried out. Because at the end of the day, 1.5 billion shillings that was actually paid, and then they say that the due diligence had been done before.
Yes.
But from the out looking in, it seems like they did it after they paid the 1.5 billion.
And it's happening across board. It's worrying. It's happening across board. The other day we were treated to a drama when top management of the Kenya Power were dramatically arrested. And it involved a lot of billions in a scam that they purchased substandard transformers.
Right.
And that's the top management of one of the biggest parastatals in this country. So if we have these guys knowing that there's something happening and they keep quiet, and they wash it under the carpet until it's too late, I think the country is not headed to the right direction.
Absolutely.
On that front.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And as far as Nordin Huji is concerned, Haji, this is the point where he actually now needs to prove what he said during his vetting. He's going to go for the big fish, the small fish. So even the high-profile names need to be brought to book, be prosecuted, so that we can see that actually justice is being served.
Yes, and he must do that in collaboration with the investigative arms of this country. That's the DCI. And I believe Mr. Kinoti and Mr. Haji, if by what they promised when they were taking over their respective offices were anything to go by, and the high-profile individuals that we've seen in the last few months being arrested, being prosecuted, if they abide to what they really promised, we believe there's a light, there's a spark of light at the end of the tunnel.
Indeed.
But it's just a matter of wait and see if anything at all will happen to these, big fish.
And true, and as we say, the DCI and the DPP's office, their trays are literally full.
Yes.
Chock-a-block with work that they need to do.
Yes, they have a lot of work to do.
Very true, very true. Let's move on to another story in the PD. Will not relax strict work permit rules, says Uhuru. President accuses some foreigners of taking advantage of country's hospitality to deny Kenyans job opportunities. This is also coming off the back of one time we saw CS Matiang'i actually at Nyayo House, when he had asked all the foreigners to go and renew their work permits. And he was talking to different foreigners who had come there, and they look at what they're doing, and he was actually addressing the press and the cameras, talking about the fact that he can't understand why there's a welder who's in Kenya coming to weld.
Yes.
Well, there's so many other Kenyans who don't have jobs and can do this, and are just as qualified. And it was
or
like,
even
this
more
is
qualified than these foreigners.
And that's why he said at this particular point, a line needs to be drawn somewhere.
Yes.
We can't just let everybody come in and work how they want, even if we have those skills locally instead.
Yes.
And that's why I think they want to actually make sure these rules are followed to the letter.
Yes, and when you hear the president talking tough on such matters, they are matters of national magnitude, and they are matter of great concern, because we have a lot of millions of Kenyans unemployed, but they have the skills, but the opportunities are not there. But again, on the other side, you will find a lot of foreigners trooping into this country, offering the expertise that we already have here. So it doesn't make sense why we should import the so-called experts when we already have our local experts here who are unemployed. The opportunities are there, but they are not given to them. So it's the time the work permit thing come by Kazwe on that, because we need to do something about the unemployment rate in this country.
Very true.
Yes.
And of course, you can see from here, it's actually the directive is coming from the top down. So meaning even the president himself is very keen to make sure this is followed up.
Absolutely.
And all the people who are looking for jobs, because it is an issue. Unemployment is an issue.
It's an issue.
And one of the way to address that is look at the jobs that actually can be done by locals instead of getting foreigners to come in and do the same work.
Yes.
It really doesn't make any sense.
Yes, we have our universities, we have our technical and vocational training centers. Why are we training all these people if we can't give them the opportunity to exercise their skills and their expertise?
True.
Yes. So it's high time that we do this conclusively.
Absolutely. And of course, it seems like it's going to be one of the things the president is going to make sure that it's followed to the letter. Still on this page 2 of the PD, state to support private firms to deliver on Big Four agenda. Another point as far as the president's legacy is concerned. We've also seen some reports intimating the fact that he now has his inner circle in check, the people that he needs to make sure he delivers his legacy in these 5 years. And on top of that, private firms that are working within those 4 pillars of his agenda are also going to get state support from this.
Yes, and if the president's word and his CSs, because they've all been talking tough and talking of how they're going to implement and help the president attain the Big Four agenda, if that comes to fruition, Jeff, this country will be in another level. But we need we need the efforts from all the concerned parties to harness all these processes and harness this progressive move.
Right.
So that in the next 3-4 years, we'll have something we can say, yes, President Uhuru has attained this in his second term. Yes. So we need all this support system to come together and work as one. And eliminate these negative elements that are bringing all this commotion in the way we do things. And that one must be dealt with it conclusively, especially those who propagate this vice we call corruption.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And of course, that's a key issue that he'll have to deal with, of course, in the next 4 years if his legacy is to remain intact.
Yes.
You can get that story on the second page of the PD. Let's move on to page 3. Lighten up the mood just a bit as we jump into the weekend. Loving or victims of jealousy overdose. It's a thin line, it seems, but Michael Moriah has going to show you that you might think that you're in love with your bae, or bae is in love with you. But when you look keenly and closely, there's something awfully wrong. Shiro, what's going on there?
You know, there's been a lot said about hell hath no fury than a woman scorned. But apparently there are scorned men out there as well who go to extremes when they feel that their love has been taken for granted. It's that song by Christopher Martin. Anyway, let's take a look at what Michael Moriah has in store for us on page 3. Let's start off with this story coming from Saudi Arabia. Remember how the story of the Princess and the Frog, where basically she kissed a frog and it became a prince. By the way, Michael Moriah, you're wrong there. Snow White did not kiss the frog. Snow White is the one who ate the poisoned apple. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, one Saudi woman smooched a horse and lost her love. So a jealous man took things to a rather extreme level when he divorced his wife after seeing a picture of her on social media kissing a horse. So, of course, she posted a photo of her, you know, equine smooch. I love that word. Equine just means relating to a horse. That she went to a fan and decided to kiss a horse, and I'm sure she did not kiss it like with tongue, but her husband decided that, you know, she was done. He was done with her. So apparently, this video went viral at the 2014 midterm elections in Chicago. So former President Barack Obama found himself in an unprecedented love triangle when a voter standing beside him during his early ballot for the 2014 midterm elections warned, "Do not touch my girlfriend." So boyfriend Mike Jones was waiting in line with his girlfriend Aya Cooper when President Obama arrived at the polling station. On news crews covering the event caught the jealous boyfriend telling the then commander-in-chief, "Mr. President, don't touch my girlfriend." To which Obama replied, "I really wasn't planning on it." So, of course, a girlfriend who was now embarrassed and immediately apologized to POTUS, saying, "I'm sorry, I can't believe Mikey's such a fool." So, of course, Barack Obama, having a Kenyan swag, he basically reached on over to the lady and kissed her on the cheeks in full view of the boyfriend. Then there's this man who has decided that the best way to deter rivals is to just make her fat. He started dating this woman. This is in China. He started dating this woman and she only weighed 50 kgs. She was quite attractive. So he was like, okay, no, people will steal my woman. So basically, he masterminded a plan to make her unattractive to other men. Over the course of 2 years, he made sure that she got plenty to eat. He treated her to big breakfasts, elaborate lunches and dinners. He even woke her up in the middle of the night to feed her. Slowly but surely, his plan has been working. Her weight shot up. She now weighs 88 kgs. Then, of course, there's a man in Zimbabwe who a woman in Zimbabwe has gone to court to complain that her ex-lover was in the habit of sleeping on her doorstep every night to prevent her boyfriends from visiting. This is just stalking. Then, of course, there's a Chinese man who found himself in a dilemma when his current girlfriend and his ex both threw themselves into a river to see which one he loved the most. I feel like that's a lot of work. There's so much more I can be doing with my time. I can be traveling. I can be eating potatoes, Jeff. No one has time to throw themselves in a river to prove love. And also, I'm a black woman. There's the issue of my hair. No.
Well, I think your potential lover has known your sweet spot. That potatoes.
Yes.
You'll be woken up at 1 a.m. He'll feed you potatoes until you're 100
but
kgs.
But already, he didn't meet me at 50 kgs. I think I'd be 50 kgs if I was dead. Anyway.
Thank you so much for that, Shiro. You can get plenty more, of course, on that wacky world with Michael Moriah. Let's keep it in the PD for right now. A landmark ruling actually issued out. And this one, of course, beauty queen to die for killing boyfriend. Now, court finds Ruth Commander guilty of murdering Farid Mohammed in City Estate and hands her the death sentence. The judge, of course, also went on to say that even as she was doing this, it was supposed to serve as a lesson to teach people that it's not cool, and those are the words she used, it's not cool actually to take such means into your own hands, to take a life in terms of jealousy or issues in a relationship, and that shouldn't be the way to go when you have a dispute between two people, even in a relationship such as this.
Yes, yes, and I believe the ruling The ruling, you know, we are not magistrates, we are not judges, we are not lawyers, but we can say that the judge in giving this ruling had all the evidence that Ruth deserved it because of what she did in 2015. You know, it's been said that she stabbed the boyfriend 22 times with a kitchen knife. And that can only equate to murder. And murder being a capital offense, so having her this judgment cannot be termed as harsh, you know. But she has a leeway; she can appeal, and maybe if she loses the appeal, she can now wait for maybe a presidential pardon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but of course,
this should be a lesson to people out here that those in marriages and those in relationships, that you can't solve things in a violent way.
True.
Just talk and listen to each other, communicate with each other, and things will work out.
Indeed.
Yes.
Of course, that's on page 7 of the People Daily. Let's stick to the corridors of justice. On another story on page 6, it's all about Governor Witi this time round, and like you talked about the fact that she might have to appeal. That might be the direction Governor Witi might need to go, because the appellate court upholds move to nullify a Witi win in Homa Bay, and that means either they go back to the polls or he takes it to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Those are the only two options left right now.
Yes, and that was a landmark ruling, because Awiti, his election had been nullified as far as February, and he went to the Court of Appeal. And now the Court of Appeal upholding that ruling that nullified his election indicates that there's more than just going to the appeal or to Supreme Court and presenting your case. True. You have to prove facts.
True.
That indeed I won this election, and now the challenger must prove that indeed I was rigged out, or the election was stolen, and such things.
Very
so
true.
If Awiti decides to go to the Supreme Court, we'll wait and see. But if he doesn't choose that path, the Homa Bay electorate must go back to the polls.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Of course, very quickly, of course, even as we wind up with the People Daily, one story that you pointed out, we'll quickly look at it on page 13. Will Kamaru go down as another unsung hero? Legendary musician, this one, but of course, it seems like we forgot about him and just moved on.
Yes, Kamaru has been aware for quite some time, and I remember in April some keyboard-happy sadists went to the internet and said that Kamaru had died. And at that particular time, he was on a hospital bed where he had been admitted at the Avenue Hospital for back pains. And this legendary Kikuyu musician is hoping that he will be well, God will heal him, to celebrate his 80th birthday this November.
Very true.
And he hopes he would live even to 120 years. Yes.
And of course, you can see even in the PD, he was paid a courtesy call by former MP Maina Kamanda.
Yes.
Alice Wahome were there as well, just to give him support, of course, and wish him well through his healing process.
Yes, and they urged the state not to act just when our unsung heroes have died.
True.
They should ensure that their upkeep and their health is kept on check when they are alive.
Very true.
Yeah, we should not just wait until they are dead to sing praises over them.
Indeed.
Yes.
You can get that and very many more stories in your People Daily. Let's move on to the front page of the Daily Nation, and it's all about that scam. 1.5 billion shilling city land scam claims its first casualties, this being the Ruaraka parcel of land. Police swoop in on 4 businessmen in dramatic dawn raid on their Nairobi homes, confiscating documents, computers, cash in millions of shillings, and top-of-the-range vehicles as investigations into how public plot was sold gained speed. And this is where you see that, first of all, the government agencies are working together, very coordinated efforts in this particular regard. But also the big question is, how does it all play out at the end of it all?
Yes.
Will they go in, be able to post bail? Because these are people of means.
Yes,
they can post whatever amount of money you need to pay in bail,
yes,
and move on out, and then just make sure this case stretches out for the next 15 years, and then you forget about it? Or how do you bring this to a conclusive end? That's a big question that needs to be answered.
Yes, and like I said before, it's a matter of wait and see, because we've been treated to this drama before. Some of their properties being confiscated, maybe their bank accounts being frozen, and some other things, and a few arrests here and there. But at the end of it, what are we gaining out of this? Are we going to follow the due process and to follow the law until the very end? So that's what means. And that's what makes sense to ordinary Kenyans like us, that we see these people prosecuted and the wealth that they, alleged looted, taken back to the public coffers.
Okay,
yes,
absolutely. And as you can see there also on the front page, you can see the one of the three persons who are of keen interest, of course, in that particular case. We have Francis Muturi, of course, right there. We also have Belio Kepsang and Swazuri. Yes. They've been in those crosshairs for quite a while. Swazuri has been trying to explain his case with this particular land scam over and over and over again.
Yes, and like we said, there is more that we don't know.
True.
And we can only know if our investigating arms go into this wholeheartedly and willing to tell us exactly what happened and whether this lost money would be covered at all.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Thanks for that. Eli, we're going to leave the newspaper review at that particular point. Asante sana for joining us.
Karibu sana, Jeff.
Okay, let's get your feedback actually, and let's start from that particular point. That Ruaraka land parcel, 1.5 billion shillings payout. Now it seems like there are very many skeletons underneath that payment, and they're slowly being uncovered bit by bit. What's the feeling on that particular issue, Shiro?
Let's just see what people are saying about this story that is just claiming casualties by the day. Let's see what people are saying about this Ruaraka land scam on social media. All right. Cyprian says, any cabinet secretary, principal secretary, or commissioner that has made a cameo appearance in the Ruaraka land saga must resign to clear their name. Corruption kills. Kelvin says, I would be more than happy to hear that the Solai Dam owner is running Ruth Kamande for the murder of several poor Kenyans. A week later, Ruaraka land scam architects join her for life. Shamima says, if the government is the one that issues title deeds, including Ruaraka land, then how come it's bought its own land from an old hunk? Hii Kenya uzwe kila mtu apewe shares yake. So, of course, that is the feeling there. A lot of simmering anger about just before we've had time to recover from one scandal, another one takes its place. Let's take a look at the next story that is making news, which is basically Ruth Kamande's death sentence. A young woman who was convicted of killing her boyfriend in a jealous rage actually being sentenced to death. This is quite interesting because we live in a country where the death penalty has actually not been executed since 1987, when the coup plotters Hezekiah Ochuka and Parkas Okeo, who are the last people to be executed in Kenya. Now let's take a look at Jegolman, who says she should be interviewed. People need to know what really went through her mind. What happened that was a tipping point? A lot of people might learn from it. Lucilla Kore says, so deep words by the judge, it's high time young people learn that a crime of passion is like any other crime. And Joseph Carrero says, tragic. This could have been avoided if someone mentored the parties involved. Where are the religious institutions? Of course, someone placing the blame right at the feet of lack of mentorship. Now let's take a look at that. The big story, we talked about this man on Interactive yesterday, and turns out that he's having a bit of trouble in the courts with an election petition. Abraham Mutai says, let it be. What do we need is development, not politics all the time. TJ says, after second appeal, unlucky, let no one in ODM party engage in Homa Bay election. Let Homa Bay residents choose their leader to build the Poor Lake County. Leah says, hii Kenya hakuna leader mzuri. Wote ni wakora, wakifika kwa kiti wanakula bila kutaka kujua. But watajua hawajui. Wow. That is just the perfect note in which to end this newspaper review. So, of course, remember, it is Hangout Friday. You can reach us on our social media platform at K24 TV, both on Instagram and Twitter, and on Facebook at K24 TV.